the happiness I seek. Jerry.
Oh, don't worry. I brought a gun just in case. If anyone tries to start anything, I'll put an end to it. Elisa laughed when I said this. Maybe it was because I had a smile on my face. Or maybe she didn't think I was bold enough to do such a thing. I did follow it up with a wink to show her that I was serious. Maybe she didn't notice. I hate to waste facial gestures, but the smile was necessary, of course. My fifth-grade therapist used to always say that people like you more if you smile. And, other than my usual dedication to spreading gleeful feelings wherever I may be, I definitely wanted Elisa to like me. Not for the obvious reasons either. Yes, she had a reputation for being easy and getting around, but I genuinely liked her. I always have, and I always did my best to show my affection. By either running away or losing the ability to speak whenever she was in my vicinity. But that was in the past, and over the course of the 9 years that I've known her and the 2 years that she's known me, I've conquered my fear of girls. Maybe not girls entirely, and maybe not entirely Elisa, but I do my best to fake it. So there we were, Elisa and I. We had just sat down in our seats at the Renton Regal movie theater, just in time for the previews as the lights had faded down when we entered Theater 6. Yeah, nothing was going to ruin the night for me. I actually wished something would happen. With my dad's .38 snub nose in my jacket's inside pocket, I'd be a hero. I'd be Elisa's hero. I could see it clearly. Good morning, Seattle. This is Brooke Lee Huntsman, and we are here today with the cinema chevalier himself, Jerry Morgan. Now tell us, Jerry, what inspired you to such bravery? Were you born this fearless, or was it something you developed over time? The news lady would say. Well, Brooke, if I may call you Brooke, which would be the first of one of my many rejoinders. Of course, please. Well, Brooke, I don't consider myself fearless, really. Courageous would be a much better word to describe it, in my opinion. It's all right, though. We all have our moments of ignorance, so I'll explain. If I were fearless, then there would have been nothing to overcome, and my actions would have been pretty meaningless, if you think about it. And my actions were far from meaningless. But in being courageous, that means that I had fear, but I possess the will and mental fortitude to overcome such things, which makes me a better person, really. But what can I say? When I see bad people in the world trying to ruin things for others, I can't just sit by and let that happen. I'm not that kind of guy. You're an inspiration, Mr. Morgan. Please, call me Jerry. You're so sweet. Thank you. If it's not too forward of me to ask, is there a special lady in your life? There is, Brooke. Her name is Elisa Anderson, and she is my one true love. She has been for most of my life. My dear Lisey Lou was with me in the theater when the shooter attempted his killing spree, and I'll be damned before I'll let someone put a bullet in my girl. Why can't I find a man like you, Jerry? Because I'm a one-of-a-kind, darling. They don't make 'em like the Jester. But hey, Elisa and I have been thinking about incorporating a lady friend into our lovemaking to spice things up a bit. She's a very generous person and found it too selfish to keep me all to herself. Yay! Yeah, that's how it would go. Other than appearing on the news, I'd probably get a key to the city. Women would ask me to kiss their babies, which I wouldn't do, of course. And the city would even have an annual parade in my honor. But that was only if something happened. Back in the theater, Elisa said, "Oh, yeah? Okay. I could see you more as the guy shooting up the place than the one saving it." As if she heard a funny joke. "Your dad's a lot like me. He was in the war. We're both fighters. Don't talk about my father. I'm hungry. I want a large popcorn and some M&Ms and a large Coke. Icy." "Coming right up," I said. I couldn't let my baby starve. Elisa had her arm on the armrest between us, so I decided to give her precious little hand a little squeeze before I got up. It was the first time our skin had ever come into contact, so it was a momentous event. We would be able to look back on this moment and tell our grandkids that this was how it all began. I must have grabbed her hand a bit too tight, though, because Elisa pulled her hand away from me as if I had slipped it inside of a bullet ant glove. I can be so foolish sometimes and don't realize my own strength. Unlike most people, I like watching movie previews. To me, it's like watching a highlight reel of all the best parts of the movie before you watch the real movie and have it disappoint you. Still, I had to feed Elisa, and sometimes love requires sacrifices, so I got up and began to walk down the aisle. Each time I put my foot down, I would have to rip it up off the floor to take another step. Once I reached the stairs, I was pondering whether the sticky substance that coated the floor was soda or semen. Then I saw him. He walked into the theater by himself and looked like the love child of Noah Levenstein and Homer Simpson. His New Balance sneakers were dirty from burying his last victim, perhaps. Or does he have his ISIS meeting in the middle of nowhere so it doesn't get noticed? I watched him as he walked towards a family sitting in the theater. It was a woman with her son and daughter, and I recognized this son and daughter. It was Jennifer and Theodore Traumer, and they went to my school. They had moved here about a year ago, and they were super weird. Jennifer sounded like she had something in her mouth and would follow my best friend and future brother-in-law Travis around like a lost dog. Theodore, on the other hand, seemed to be zoned out most of the time. I felt bad for those losers, but I couldn't risk blemishes on my own reputation by talking to them at school. Of course, this is how it would go. The sick bastard shows up here to shoot up the place, and he chooses to start with the easiest targets that have wretched lives anyway. That son of a bitch would probably be doing them a favor, but after he was done with them, he would want to work his way up the theater until he reached my Elisa. One thing he didn't count on was the jest of being here, and that gave me the advantage, but could I go through with it? I've never killed anyone before. But how hard could it be? In all the movies that I've watched, and I've watched a lot of movies on the subject of shooting people, the hero just has to aim, pull the trigger, and the bad guy falls to the ground for his permanent nap. Game over. There won't even be that much blood. Even if it was difficult, I would still have to do it. I can't let anything happen to Elisa. Not my gal. I could see the family turn and look at the man approaching them. They greeted him with welcoming smiles on their faces. Poor ignorant fools. The man then reached into his denim and twill Letterman jacket. Go time. Travis. I'm sorry to hear that. You two were so cute together, said the wheelchair-bound girl in the ticket box. That poor girl. She probably makes minimum wage to tell people how much the tickets will be. Collect the money, give the tickets, rinse and repeat. An empty existence. I should do her a favor and end her right here. But no. If I did that, then there would be more opportunity to stop me. Giving this poor girl the sweet embrace of death was not my purpose here. Oh no. I was here for bigger things. Here, keep the change, I said, as I slid her a $20 bill. Wait, what? Are you sure? She replied. Yes. Take care of yourself. I looked at her name tag. Karen, you're a beautiful person. I grabbed the ticket and walked away before she had the chance to say anything more. People like Karen and I were forgotten by society. Today we would not be forgotten. Today would be their wake-up call. Part of me wished I chose to do this at my school. But shooting up a school is such a cliché these days. Shooting up a movie theater kind of is too, but not as much as a school. Everyone from school will hear the news anyway, and they will say to themselves, Travis? Travis Anderson did that? Why have we been treating him like shit all these years? That could have been us. After handing my ticket to the ticket taker and receiving a stub back in return, I made my way towards Theater 6, where my infamy awaited me.